Apple released the M1 version of the iPad Pro a couple of weeks ago, and I've been using it almost daily. So I thought I'd be doing a full review today of the 2021 M1 iPad Pro. So Apple has decided to change a few things with the iPad Pro this year, and that includes, of course, the M1 chip, but also the cameras in the front, and the USB-C now has Thunderbolt capabilities. I'm going to be talking about all those things in this full review, and before I do get into it, I'm going to kindly ask you guys if you guys could hit the subscribe button. I do so much content on iPads and tech topics, so if you're into that, make sure to smash the subscribe button. Now let's get into the video. So one of the first things that I like to talk about in all of my videos is definitely the design. And the design of the 2021 iPad Pro should be fairly familiar to everybody. It's almost identical to the 2020 iPad Pro and then the 2018 iPad Pro as well, with just a few minor tweaks. One of the biggest differences is at the bottom, there are the smaller speaker grills in comparison to the 2020 iPad Pro. But in general, the iPad Pro is beautiful. It has squared / rounded designs that we've come to know and expect from the past iPad, but it looks very modern, and I feel like it's one of the best designed tablets out, or one of the best designed tech products. And you can see that Apple definitely is going to be going this way in the future because the iPhone 4 follows a more squared design as well. If this year you were hoping to get a new design of the iPad Pro, you might need to wait a few more years. But so far, I really like the design. It also comes in space gray and silver, and in comparison with the iPad Air 4, that has a lot more colors, but they kept it pretty basic and standard with the iPad Pro this year, but I'm not complaining. Now let's get right into the M1 chip. This is the biggest change in comparison with this iPad and the past iPads. Apple decided to use the chip that it used in its MacBook lineup of the fall of 2020 and put it into the M1 chip. So of course you can expect blazing fast capabilities that just blows your mind, right? Right, yeah, we know what the M1 chip can do at this point, but in comparison to iPads, especially the iPads of the past, personally speaking, I've not noticed that much of a difference. I did do a full comparison with the 2020 iPad Pro, and the link is in the description so you can see it, but on a day-to-day use, everyday tasks, I don't really notice a difference. I know it's fast. It's 50% faster, I believe Apple says, than the 2020 iPad Pro. But when I'm doing things like launching Safari, editing videos in LumaFusion, editing photos, playing video games, I don't really notice a difference because it's very similar in speeds to the 2020 iPad Pro. Yes, you can absolutely kill 4K footage, edit photos, and play games as I mentioned, but you can do that on the 2020 or 2018 iPad Pro, and you can even do it on the base iPad. Of course, there are speed differences, but do you really notice them? My criticism of the M1 chip is that it's not being fully utilized yet. I believe Apple should give us true apps that can take advantage of all this power. It feels extremely limited, especially since we know exactly what this chip can do. The good news is that WWDC is coming up shortly, and we can all expect Apple to release some full desktop apps for the iPad Pro 2021. Let's move on to the display. This year, Apple saved another huge differentiator between the 2021 iPad Pro and the past iPads, and only gave the mini LED feature to the 12.9-inch version. But don't get me wrong, the display on the 11-inch version looks really good. It comes with 600 nits of brightness, wide color gamut, and it has 120 Hertz. That means that when you're doing things like drawing with the Apple Pencil, you'll notice the strokes are a little bit more smoother in comparison with using the Apple Pencil with any of the other iPads. Consuming content on the iPad Pro is exactly what it was in the past. Again, this is the same display from the 11-inch iPad Pro last year, so if you liked that before, you have no real reason to complain. But with that said, I still believe that Apple missed an opportunity here to make the 2021 iPad a lot more worth the upgrade in comparison with the 2020 iPad. Because I mean, really, why couldn't Apple literally just put the same display that they put in the 12.9-inch version into the 11-inch? In one of my previous videos, somebody commented that Apple is definitely going to release a mini LED 11-inch version sometime in the future, maybe even later this year, and they're going to force us to either upgrade twice or just maybe skip that version. But it does kind of suck. I kind of wish that the 11-inch version got the same display. I mean, are you more of a pro because you buy the 12-inch version and you're less of a pro if you get the 11-inch version without that display? That is my true gripe. But again, as I mentioned, the display is still beautiful, it still looks great, it's good for editing photos and watching videos, 4K content, all of that. I mean, it looks beautiful on this display. Moving on to battery life. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this. This is something super standard across all iPads. Apple has stated that this iPad gets 10 hours of battery life. And to be honest, you can definitely get that if you spend a lot of your time browsing the web. However, if you're doing things like editing 4K videos, editing photos, playing a lot of intensive games, then you're going to notice the battery drain a little bit faster than that. But in general, you can get 6 to 8 or 6 to 10 hours of battery life depending on your usage. Let's move on to the cameras. The 2021 iPad has a triple camera setup with one 12 megapixel 1.8 wide angle sensor. They have another 10 megapixel f2.4 ultra wide sensor and one dual pixel 10 megapixel sensor. With this, you can take a lot of cool photos. Now, I don't really recommend taking photos with the iPad Pro, but if you need to scan documents, you're definitely going to get away with it. The cameras on the back, the quality is really good, but again, it shouldn't be your main shooting device. But if we move to the front, that's where Apple made an interesting upgrade with the 2021 iPad Pro. And they added center stage. What that means is you can move around the frame of the front camera, and the camera will use the wide angle sensor and make sure that you're kind of in the center each time. So that's really good for anybody that's on FaceTime and you're moving around a lot. Personally speaking, as I mentioned in another video, I tend to use FaceTime and Zoom sitting down and I'm standing still. I'm not necessarily moving around often. So while I think this is a cool feature for the people that can take advantage of this, if I was to make an upgrade to the camera, especially the front camera on the iPad Pro, I would have 100% moved it more to the center, because there are times where I'm looking and I'm FaceTiming, but it generally looks like I'm looking away from the person that I'm speaking to when I'm really just looking at the screen of the iPad. So that's really annoying, and I do wish Apple upgraded that. So if you're still watching and you made this far, thank you guys so much. Again, I'm gonna ask you guys to hit the subscribe button if you like this content so far. I got a lot more iPad content coming, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. Okay, so far in this video, I did mention some of the things that I like about the iPad and a few minor cons that I just thought I'd mention in this video. I feel like the major con, or the major thing holding this iPad 2021 back from greatness, is the fact that it's called an iPad Pro, and I just feel like it's not really there yet. In iPad OS, of course, you can move files around in the File Explorer. However, it doesn't really give you a progress bar to know how far your transfer is. All that goes to say that the iPad Pro is called the Pro, but there are some things that you just need a computer for so far. And I feel like the way forward will be Apple adding these desktop apps and a few minor tweaks to the iPad Pro to make it even more worthy and even more deserving of that Pro name. So other random things about the 2021 iPad Pro that I thought I should mention in the video is that the Apple Pencil is here again, and it works great with that low latency. It's good for anybody that's drawing. I'd highly recommend picking up the Apple Pencil if you're gonna pick up the 2021 iPad Pro. It also features Thunderbolt 3 for connecting up to a 6K display and Thunderbolt accessories. So that means that you're gonna get faster speeds when you're using your Thunderbolt compatible devices. So to conclude, the iPad Pro 2021 is a great tablet, especially if this is gonna be one of your first iPads or you're upgrading for one of the older iPads. But if you have the 2020 iPad Pro or even the 2018 iPad Pro, I definitely can't recommend upgrading to the 2021 iPad Pro. It'll be a good idea to wait until WWDC to see what Apple does with this to turn the iPad Pro into a more complete device. But that's it, guys. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think about the 2021 iPad Pro and how you're liking it so far if you bought it. Also, to thank you guys, I'm also going to be doing a $25 Apple or Amazon giveaway. To enter, all you gotta do is be subscribed to my channel, comment down below what you think about the new iPad, and also like this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Peace.